We are back, and on this week's show, while the Big Five looks to try to become the Big Four in publishing, a lawsuit has kind of put a monkey wrench in all of their plans. But with everyone sharing their opinions, and some even using it as an opportunity to help the little guy, the last thing we need is a king. It does bring up the question, though, has the landscape and path to publishing changed? Would we, those of us who have published already, looked at it differently now? As always, we have an incredible panel here to discuss these issues and more. Plus, we have, as always, the Indie Connection with CL Cannon as she puts the puzzle together for the Book of Night. Then, in the final 5 minutes, we get a little steamy and spicy with the one and only Madeline Dale as she shares from her latest story in a new anthology. So, grab your cup of coffee, sit back, get ready to chat with us, and talk about these issues and more with your host for This Week in Indies, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're back. Fall season has begun. We're very excited. I hope you all are having a wonderful day, wonderful morning, wonderful evening, wherever you might be, whatever you're doing. Welcome to This Week in Indies. We've got a great show for you, and I just wanted to first mention real quickly that we are being brought to you by this week the awesome and amazing Fiction Atlas Press. Marketing services that won't break the bank. Authors, are you searching for a way to connect with your readers in your genre? A way to grow your social media and newsletter presence? Do you want to make more sales and gain superfans? Fiction Atlas can help. They've worked with thousands of authors to grow and nurture their readership, improve sales, and establish lasting author careers. Best of all, they're extremely affordable and can help you at any stage in your writing journey. They are also offering a plethora of one-on-one author services in addition to our builder group. This includes marketing, formatting, line editing, proofreading, professional beta reading, graphic design, video trailers, and advertisements. Yes, Fiction Atlas Press. Everybody go check it out. The link is there, and I'm real excited to have them as part of our show this week, and thank you very much to CL Cannon for sponsoring us. And with that being said, let's bring in the group. Say hello, everybody, to everybody. We've got a great group here today, and we're going to be discussing a little bit of newsworthiness to kind of flow into more of what we're more interested in talking about, because nobody gives a crap about Random House and Simon and Schuster. But that being said, we will talk a little bit about it because it is news, and there was a little bit of some cattiness going on as far as spiting the indie guy a little bit. So we'll discuss all of that. But before we do that, it would behoove me if I didn't let everybody introduce themselves. So let's do that. Madeline, why don't you start us off, please?
Hey guys, Madeline Dale here. I'm excited to be back for the fall. First off, I gotta brag about this t-shirt. Let me scoot it back all the way. Yay! My hair is covering it up. Boom. I am a fantasy, romance, paranormal, mixed genre author. I've got some new stuff coming out this fall that are mostly in anthologies. Kind of slowing down my writing as my son and I adjust to school and stuff. You can find all of my stuff, my social links and whatnot at thechaptergoddess.com. I'm ready to chat today, guys.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, Ron.
Hello. Great to be back. Excited for the new season. My name's Ron LR. I write fantasy, science fiction, humor, mixed all those up sometimes. There's my website there for those of you who can read. And I also host Indie Mayhem, the game show, and on this channel. And we'll have a mean reviews show debuting later this month.
Awesome. Yes, we're looking forward to that for sure.
Me
All
too.
right. Welcome. All right,
Thank
Miss
you.
A.F. Stewart.
Hi, I'm Nina Stewart. I write under A.F. Stewart. I write horror and fantasy, poetry, and I have a nonfiction book out now, Planning Your Book. And I also have a Redbubble store where I do designs, and I host 2 podcasts, Words That Kill and Between the Pages Book Chat, and probably do a bunch of other things that I can't remember at the moment. So.
Awesome. Welcome. All right, Deborah.
Hi, I'm Deborah Parmley. I'm a multi-genre author, most known for writing military romantic suspense, and I have a brand new SEAL series coming out in September. I'm coming to you from a motorhome where I live full-time and travel the U.S. I write and travel. I've got a travel blog all about that. And I'm also working on a book about our first year on the road. That's my new stuff.
Cool. That should be a lot of fun. Little road
Yeah.
trip book.
Yeah.
Karina says hello and good luck. For anybody who doesn't know, Karina does all the graphics for us. So those wonderful little graphics you see in our promos and in front, those are all done by the amazing and awesome Miss Karina Cantus. Then Mr. A.L. Mangles here. Thank you for joining us, Andy. Nice to see you. And look at that. Hey, our sponsor's here, everybody. All right. Miss C.O. Cannon's here. She's got a great indie connection for you. But anyway, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about the newsworthiness of what we're experiencing in the world. For those who do not know what's going on, currently, sometime in 2021, I want to say November-ish of 2021, Random House put in a bid of $2.2 billion to buy out Simon and Schuster and conglomerate into one house and basically change the big five into the big four. Well, this was met with a lot of resistance, not just from the publishing industry itself and the other four that have a say in this, but or the other three, I should say, who have a say in this, but which it was met with their ire. But the government as well, who is on an antitrust kick right now, filed a antitrust lawsuit against Simon and Schuster and Random House to block this merger from happening. And on top of all of that, of course, the Authors Guild, independent book sellers organizations, all of the organizations, Romance Writers of America, Horror Writers of America, Science Fiction Writers, have all come out and said, maybe this isn't such a great idea. But that being said, the trial began about 3 weeks ago. It's supposed to only last 3 weeks, but now we're into week 4, so yay, government. And that's the whole thing about these lawsuits. They're only supposed to go 3 weeks, but of course, red tape and appeals and all that. And the big news this week was we had an appearance by the one and only Mr. Stephen King, who of course is repped by Simon and Schuster. He was actually very candid about being against this a little bit on the stand, but he's as always, as can be said, there was a little politics going on around that as well, and he took it as an opportunity to slap indies in the face a little bit too. I don't know if you all saw his testimony a little bit, but he mentioned how the independent people are kind of like shit on my shoe. I don't really think about them all that much. And there was also very much a lot of talk with the CEOs of both Random House and Simon Schuster talking about how independent publishing shouldn't be affected by this because they don't matter. And a lot has been said about the middleman being the guy who's going to be hurt the most by this. So, I mean, does anybody really want to talk about this portion of what's going on? I mean, Ron,
Yes,
the corporate
I do.
guy, you want to
I do.
Simon and
Yeah,
Schuster.
my opinion is GoIndieNow should come out in favor of the merger because, in all likelihood, it will drive prices up, uh, and that will be great for indies. I mean, the selection will be reduced. Fewer books will come out if the two become one from the joined company. So it would look great for indies. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of antitrust action in general, but here I think it would help the consumer more than hurt it. If all you do is buy traditional books, you could see some pain, but I think it would drive a lot of people to alternatives.
I have to agree with that because, I mean, they don't really affect what we as indies do. And if they take out another like large publisher, it does take away maybe a little bit of competition. But the fact that they were calling us like indie publishing companies like feeders, like and putting it as an example to like baseball and like how they feed into the bigger teams. That kind of made me mad because there are a lot of us indie authors who work our butts off to make sure our books are good, and we edit it, and we probably spend more time working on it than authors that take the traditional route. Now, I don't say they don't work on it because every author is different, but we put more time into like marketing it and making sure it's out there versus traditional publishers. They spend a certain amount of time on it and then they're just done. Just throw it out. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
missed an opportunity to make a joke about welcome to the minor leagues.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd go so far as to say, do indie authors, I mean, especially ones that are successful on their own, even care what the big publishers are doing anymore? Because what they're doing doesn't really affect the indie author community or the indie author publishing at all. I mean, if we move up to a press, which is probably going to be a smaller press anyway, something like maybe Orbit or smaller indie press. So we don't really care about the big five or the big four or whatever it is. So, and it just goes to show how much they're actually out of touch with the indie publishing community is to call us minor leagues, because how many indie publishers, if they're doing well, and some of them are, would take an offer from a big publisher because they'd probably be taking a pay cut.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the idea is too that you know they weren't prompted to talk about indies. The question was, where do you see the landscape of publishing? And they just decided to throw indies in there when they talked about it. And it's like, why did you even have to mention us?
Because we've
I
made
find that
space at the table.
I find it really interesting because, okay, Stephen King, for instance, he made an attempt at going indie at one time and then he went back to traditional. So the fact that he is making comments about indies and the fact that the publishers are making comments about indies kind of makes me wonder, if we're such a non-issue, why are they commenting on us? Why are they feeling need to put us down? Generally speaking, when a person does that, they're feeling threatened in some way by the person they're putting down. So I find that very interesting. If we're a non-issue, then we wouldn't be talked about. But we are, and there are many traditional authors who have gone indie and done well and won't go back. So we are becoming more and more something that they need to look at.
And even in the article that was shared with us before the show, when we were to read it and stuff, it talked about how some of them were recruited by traditional publishers, but they came back to the indie press because it worked out for so much better for them. They had a better relationship with the people in the indie press versus the traditional. It's just like brick wall kind of like thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see a lot of mid-listers from the traditional going hybrid these days too,
Yeah.
where
They
they're
talked
getting their
about
rights.
that they talked about that in the defamation.
Yeah,
aspect of
but
it.
they're getting their rights back for older series that the traditional publishers don't care about anymore, republish them as indie and continuing on the series and making more money. I've heard a lot of
Exactly.
mid-listers who have gone hybrid. They still have some series with traditional, but they've taken their older series and Indified it, and they're making more money than they were, and they're happy with it.
Yeah. We've got some great comments here. CL Can says, for insignificant as we are, we're sure causing some problems for traditional publishers. Karina agrees. She says we're selling more than trad. That's why many of the trads are failing. And then Margaret says hello, and thank you for being here, Margaret. It's nice to have you here. Thank you for the love. We appreciate that. And then Andy says the arrogance of big publishers has the potential to lead to their undoing. This could help indie penetration of the BMs. As stores, we seek a product to offer with a better pricing structure, which is kind of what Ron was saying a little bit in that respect. And I agree that this is a good thing, because eat your young. Go ahead. Get greedy. Keep getting greedier and greedier. It's just going to blow up in your face. It's like traditional publishing intertwined with patriarchy or something.
Yeah.
I look forward to the day when a paperback costs $100.
Oh my God. Whew.
And I'm hoping I'm indie at
ebook.
that point, so I make 99.70. Because because if there's only one, if they've consolidated down to one, you're probably gonna get $1.04 for that sale from the traditional publisher, and I'm sure Amazon will have to take its cut too. So you may end up owing the publisher after that one. So it's crazy,
Also,
and
keep it.
Go ahead, Deborah. Sorry.
Keep in mind that these publishing companies, they have big PR people. Okay, so anything they say publicly, they have thought out. And notice what they chose to use to identify with indies. That baseball comparison is no mistake. They're trying to make us look small when we are not small. And so I find that really interesting, their choice of, what are they putting out there publicly.
I don't know about anybody else, but if you've never been to a minor league baseball game, they're a lot more fun than a major league baseball game any day of the week. They're cheaper. You get more out of it. You can drink more. You can eat more. Your kids can have fun because they do things in between the innings and things like that. And it's just a really great environment. So yeah, I want to be in the minor leagues. Fine, compare me to the minor leagues. I'm happy being there. Thank you very much.
More fun. You have more fun with what we do.
Much more fun there. So, and he says a similar thing is happening in the airline industry with JetBlue and Spirit merger. I didn't know they were merging. That's kind of scary. Well, I'm glad I didn't go with the JetBlue for my last ticket then. Reading Antitrust is shedding some interesting light on trad pub angle. Who knew mood reader chaos Muppet would come in so handy? But they're bringing us up by doing that. Yes, absolutely. That, as Deborah said, it's calculated. There's no doubt. I mean, the CEOs of these major corporations are not going to misspeak on a witness stand. It's just not going to happen. I mean, they were prepped by 45 lawyers and vetted and prepared for these moments. I don't know about Stephen King. I don't know if you can vet Stephen King. Probably Stephen King operates on his own, but I'm sure that they tried for sure to kind of get him to, sail the ship one way. I mean, he was very trite, but he was also very controlled in the way he was being trite. He was very careful, as celebrities are usually when they're talking in public. But he wasn't mincing words a little bit. He had some interesting things to say, and I think he's trying to fight for the middle guy more than anybody, which is what I've heard a lot about this merger being the culprit of the middle guys being lost in the shuffle here. Not the newer people, but the middle people who get that small bit of royalty advance and that small bit of budget to market, and the whole reason they go traditional is to get the bigger piece of the pie, and they're saying that it will dilute that marketplace a lot more and that the rich will just get richer. which makes a lot of sense because that's the way our
Well,
economy is going right now.
the mid-list can come to the indie community. You'll make more money, and we will welcome you, and we will help you. So,
Hell yeah.
leave trad, come indie.
So okay, so I think everybody happy with the talk. Do you guys have anything else you want to add to this? To talk a little bit more about it, or you want to move on? The interesting thing to me in thinking about this, right, and reading these articles and going through this rabbit hole, which, by the way, everybody, on Friday, Late Night News is back, and we're going to talk a lot more about this. There's some other angles that we're not touching upon today that we're going to touch upon. It's just there's so much going. I've literally been reading nothing but this about this, and there's just so many little nuances, so many things. I highly recommend if you really want to learn about antitrust law and you want to learn about why this is happening and what's going on. It's a lot of politics amongst everything else, but it is very, very interesting, and you'll get saturated in it quite quickly. But in reading all this stuff, I was starting to think about, because we all come from different time periods in which we all started our journeys in this, and for Deborah and I know we started with the only option we had, which was the traditional model. And then Madeline, you've come into a glorious time, and Anita, you were kind of in the middle there,
No,
right?
actually, I started at the beginning of the indie industry.
There you go. And Ron was kind of in the middle there as well. And so I was kind of thinking about how I would have approached this now if I was a new author looking to get into things. I mean, is the traditional route even something I'm thinking about at this point? Would you have how do you feel like you would have handled, getting into this business right now as opposed to when you did?
I would probably be a little worried and concerned because when I did go into indie, I was trying to do the traditional route first, and it was stressful and hair pulling because I was trying to do it without putting a ton of money into it, without having to reach out to an agent and stuff. But you literally have to have somebody that reaches out to them for you in order to even be considered. And if you are starting out on this, you do really need to do your research because money is going to be put into it either way you go. But you need to do what works best for you. And it is going to be stressful in general, period. So.
Yeah, there are a lot of middle options now than when I started out. Like it was either trad or the new indie industry when I started. But I mean, nowadays you've got so many smaller presses, independent presses that you can choose from if you want to have a traditional experience and an indie experience sort of mixed in the middle. And that's probably where I might have started if I was starting now. At least try that first, and then before I went full indie.
Like query smaller presses and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of smaller presses you don't even have to query. You just
reach out to them.
Yeah, you just have to submit in some cases, So there's a lot of them though. I mean, you have like Madeline said, you have to do your research because I mean some of them are a little new and maybe not as stable as you want. Because some of them do shut down.
Yeah, we have several people I know that are on their third or fourth press because the first two have shut down on them. So yeah, you have to be wary of that idea as well.
But I mean, even when the press shuts down, though, you're at a bit of an advantage there because you can take what they did and your manuscript and just shift right into indie. So it still might be a better option these days for a new author.
That's great. I like that.
Yeah.
Ron, you want to jump in?
Well, when I started, it was the 1980s. So there was only traditional publishing, and it was just a pain in the ass. I mean, you had to commit anytime you sent something to an agent or even directly to a publisher, you had to commit to not show it to anybody else for 6 months. And so you'd write something and send it, and then your hands are tied. You have nothing. They don't worry about getting back to you quickly. So I just stopped. I started that. It was very unpleasant, and then I had kids in school, and I was too busy. So when my kids moved out, and I wanted to get back into writing, I was ecstatic that the indie route existed because it. I mean, when you get all the control, which I really like, you don't pay a bunch of other people with your writing, which I like. And then there's the immediacy of it. You don't have to. I mean, even though the traditional industry has changed over time, the bad taste it left in my mouth, never went away, and I would never go there. Yeah.
He's not lying. They were very strict about that. I don't. Did you experience that at all, Deborah? With that, when I think you mentioned something like that once upon a time. When you first submitted, you had to wait a little bit, right?
Well, there was always a wait,
Yeah,
and there were always so there's the wait, there's the rejection letters,
yeah,
there's even when you get your work in with a house, there's the wait on the second. I was basically orphaned within my house because there were so many editors leaving. It was a revolving door during the 7 year. Well, the first book I had 5 editors. By the time I was out of contract in 7 years, I think there'd been maybe 7 or 8. But of course, I'm just floating in a house with no editor because that's what happened. So you've got a choice then. I quit waiting so long to send my work out to someone else. I ended up with 5 different publishers by doing that. And then I'm juggling 5 different publishers and deadlines, and it was really rough. But I'll say this, it toughens you up. I can get a rejection letter today and go, whatever. I don't care. I don't even give it 2 seconds. I look at the letter and I say, is there anything in here that can help me make the work better? If yes, great. Maybe read it again, think about it. If no, into the trash it goes. I don't even look at it again. So, I mean, that's what I get from having started out that way.
yeah.
Because you learn that your time is valuable. So, from a time perspective, I would only go traditional if the contract made it worth my while. Because at the end of the day, whether you're with a small press, a big house, or on your own, it boils down to the contract, the royalties, the distribution. Will they promote you? What's the price on it? How many countries are you in? All of that. There's a lot to think about whether you say yes or no to any contract anywhere.
And the big question nowadays, if you're going traditional, is who gets the rights to what? Because especially
Yes.
for Deborah, who will have a built-in audience with a traditional publisher because of what she writes in the genre she writes in romance, you're also going to have a built-in movie audience as well. And a lot of these books, they already have, like, I know that like Hatchet already has a deal with Hallmark, and basically they're going to put out a book, and 6 months later they're going to give it to Hallmark, and Hallmark's going to make the movie of the week out of it, kind of thing, and do all of those things. That's where they really make their money, is they hand it over to Hollywood and say, here, make this into something that we can sell more books with.
I will say this, having come from traditional and all those small to mid-level houses, I have made more money and had more success from being in Kindle worlds with Amazon pushing the books than anything any traditional publisher ever did for me.
Nice.
And I had a good push at the beginning because my first book, when it came out, it had been in that contest. So Dorchester Publishing was promoting me, and so was Romantic Times Book Lovers magazine, and it was all over the world. So you need to look not just at who's publishing you, but where is your book coming out and who will promote that book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Margaret brought up something in the chat that I wanted to bring up too, and there's quite an interesting chat going on right now. But she brought up this idea, and I'm curious from the perspective of the panel here. She says she's starting over, but with D2D. That's Drafted Digital, for anybody who doesn't know. Excited to have some indie competition to those on. How much of that would factor into your decision if you look at, I can be, because part of the thing about indie that was always stigmatized was the idea that it's not as professional as the traditional route. First, it was the covers were all dog shit, and then it was, we know how to market to our genre because our blurbs are headed to our genres, our covers are headed to our genres, and then as indies, we figured that out. And then it was about price pointing and all of that aspect of it, and then the big one that they've held on to for quite a long time was, hey, you can't do a book signing at a bookstore because you can't do print on demand through a bookstore because they have to have a returnability aspect to what they do. And Drafted Digital kind of changed all of that, and from Spark changed all of that. So again, doing your research, if you were to discover that, would that have swayed you a lot more to go indie nowadays than not? Because you could basically do everything a traditional publisher can do now.
Yes,
Well,
and that's
I
important.
went wide from the
Go ahead.
beginning. So, and I definitely recommend that anyone who is going to go indie to put their books out everywhere, especially these days with Drafted Digital, because they're heavily promoting their partnerships with Kobo and Barnes and Noble and that with sale promotions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's the best time in the world
they've
to
got all,
disconnect from Amazon as much as possible.
and they also have the connection to Smashwords now. That
Yeah.
Smashwords has the Overdrive and all the library systems and everything like that as well.
Oh yeah, I get a lot of royalty revenue from Overdrive. They seem to like my books over there.
There you go. Nice. That's awesome. And and then Karina brought up, this is when I was first coming up. Karina and I came about around the same time, because when we talked, my whole thing was, you get an agent. The agent then helps you get into meetings with publishers, and then the publishers decide what they're going to do from there. And that was how the whole system worked. There wasn't even, when I was doing pitch sessions, I was pitching directly to agents. You couldn't even pitch to publishers at that point. You could submit, but your stuff would go in the garbage. You really needed an agent to represent you. If you were going to go to the medium or higher presses, you really needed an agent to have an in there to help you get there. So all of the pitch sessions that were available to us were agents, and we had to pitch to agents. And what the thing they would warn you against is, the independent publishing doesn't exist. It's called vanity pressing, and they're going to, if you do it that way, the only heathens that self-published during the time that I was around were self-help gurus and nonfiction, boring math books, basically, is how one agent put it to me. And so the vanity press thing was a big deal too, which it still exists out there, and you got to be very, very careful. But I think as indies, that's part of the community, has been really good about making sure that those guys get exposed really fast and really well. So, but that was part of my whole journey getting published, was I didn't have even an indie thought. If I was going to self-publish, I was, I better put something in there about how I'm going to make your life better. Otherwise.
Before you get a book out, your focus is on getting the book out. Will somebody publish me? And I think that's true no matter what time period, because you've got this brand new book, you've never done it before. And whether back then or now, traditional or indie, you're thinking, how can I get the book out there? Then after a bit, when you have a book out there, that mindset shifts, because you start looking at your royalties and you start saying, holy cow, I'm not making what I thought I would be making, and what's going on here? If you can keep hold of both of those things when you're starting out at a better place, because at the end of the day, for all of us, whether we've been doing this for years or we're brand new, it's about pay the writer. You do want to get paid for your work. If you didn't, you just put it out there for free and let everybody have it. So That's important to keep in mind, no matter what level you're at. Who is going to pay you, how they're going to pay you, etc. Very important, this stuff. We need to eat. That whole starving author thing is the biggest bunch of nonsense, the biggest myth that needs to be smashed, because we need to eat, right?
Yeah.
Pay the writer.
Yes.
And so let's get through some of these comments here, because there is a good question in the chat that I want to bring up as well. But Andy says agents go with the market, so timing is crucial for traditional publishing. It's challenging to predict what market will do in 2 or 3 years. Indie is the best option for a new author. 6 months. Oh yeah, we already went through that one. And then here's the interesting conversation I was mentioning earlier,
Which I did not bring up this time. Normally it's on me. It was not me this time.
And then for some reason BDSM, we had to figure out what that really meant. But you can all go through that. But anyway, so maybe we'll do the indie connection and then tackle this, because this is a whole other subject on the other side of things that I think we'll do. So we're going to go jump into the indie connection with CL Cannon this week, and she's got a great indie connection as always. And then we'll go ahead and tackle Andy's question on the other side, and keep your comments coming, your questions coming. We'll do that as well. So we'll be right back, everybody. So enjoy the indie connection.
Hey guys, CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another indie connection. Today I'm going to be telling you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Book of Night by Holly Black. The first book I have for you is called Brass and Blood by R.I. Mclaughlin. When the body is asleep, the mind is awake and adventurous, sating its wanderlust in the dream clouds. But the clouds aren't a pleasant dream, as evident by brass-littered streets and the blood of devious nightmares soaking floorboards. They are the remnants of a fantasy, one dusted with trauma and strife. It's the job of Simonians, nightmare bounty hunters, to protect the wandering dreamer for the right price. Conrad will protect his sister at any cost, even if that means partnering with nightmares. Nickel pursues the bounty of a lifetime, while past failures doggedly pursue her. Sabrina, the most wanted nightmare, whose freedom lies in an unthinkable act, humility. Only the formation of unlikely alliances and the breaking of silent creeds can stop the sinister plans in motion. Instinct is predictable. Beware the glass breaker. The second book I have for you is called Blind the Eyes by K.A. Wiggins. In the city of nightmares, one haunted girl is taking back more than just her dreams. In a drowned city on the edge of the sea lives a girl in a tower, but this is no fairy tale. Every moment of Cole's life is strictly regulated, right down to her thoughts. Though even refuge can't control the rebellious ghost who haunts her with the tales of a world untroubled by monsters. But so much as dreaming of a better life risks summoning ravening nightmares. Confronted by a mesmerizing, golden-eyed stranger, Cole holds fast to her training and rejects his dangerously tempting proposition. But when silent obedience only leads her to a shattered corpse and a deadly conspiracy, everything she thought she knew comes tumbling down. Can she untangle a lifetime of lies and take back her stolen power in time to avoid a bloody end? She's about to become their worst nightmare. The third book I have for you is called A Memory of Light by Allison S. Barkley. An exceptionally skilled thief, Ari lives deep in the forest with no one but her bobcat Jagger for company. She is determined to keep to herself as the civil war drags on around her. But when a mysterious stranger appears with an unexpected job offer, she has no choice but to leave her quiet life behind. Unwillingly paired with chatty, optimistic magician Ellie, Ari finds her patience, wits, and skill tested when the journey quickly proves to be far from what either of them bargained for. Ari must face one of the greatest tests of her thieving career, and come to terms with the many secrets she's been hiding. And the last book I have for you is called A Rose to the Torch by Bartholomew Lander. In a world shaped by the rise and fall of the Hemomancers, one seemingly ordinary girl from North Carolina is the key to ending a century-long war, and she wants nothing to do with it. Coral never wanted to be a Hemomancer. Why would she? In a world built on the wounds the Hemomancers carved in history, being discovered as one is a death sentence. But when a group of Hemomancers track her down, she finds herself pulled into the orbit of a war that has raged in secret for 100 years. Now, disowned by her family, and possessing blood coveted by the villainous Rosarium, Coral has little choice but to accept the aid of the mysterious Orchid Veil and set foot into the world of the Hemomancers, a world rife with danger and intrigue. But once there, she quickly discovers that being a Hemomancer is even less glamorous than she'd imagined. Torn between two worlds and welcome in neither, her hunt for a place to belong will force her to confront the darkness in her own heart. Will Coral be able to survive the war being fought over her own blood? And if she does, will she ever be the same as she was before? Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!
As always, thanks to CL Cannon for that wonderful Indie Connection. I mean, Bartholomew Lander, has there never been a more apt author name than that? I mean, that's insane. But great covers, as always. He finds the greatest covers and the greatest connections. So we're really appreciative of that. And welcome back to everybody. And you can get the links to all the books in the description, as well as to everybody here. And I'm sure they'll tell you a little bit more about that later. But for right now, on the other side, we wanted to tackle this incredibly great question by Andy Mengel. And he asks, I've had good experience with Amazon, especially with their worldwide distributions. Why are indies wanting to leave Amazon? And then Karina says, don't get me started. But let's get it started. So everybody, and he says, honestly, I'd like to know. I've considered other houses such as Ingram, but it'd be an enormous and time-consuming project to move my title. So any insight would be most appreciated. All right, panel, insight. Give it.
Well,
So go ahead, Anita.
first of all, their policies are, in some cases, ridiculous, to be nice. And their lack of transparency is bordering on the criminal, and that's pissing a lot of people off.
Mm-hmm. They're also flagging a lot of authors, like for, I know one author in particular, she recently uploaded a new book and they flagged it, trying to tell her that it wasn't her story. So she had to take it down per their request and re-upload it as a separate doc. And now they're flagging again and like banning her from like not uploading any books, claiming she's pirating somebody else's work and all this other kind of stuff. But they're also flagging like covers and making people like provide proof that they didn't rip somebody else's cover off, or that they're not using like unlicensed photos and stuff like that. And then also for like the Kindle Unlimited stuff, if you want to go wide and you put your book in Kindle Unlimited, you can't. There cannot be a digital copy anywhere other than on Amazon when you do that. And you can't give books away free unless you purchase it through Amazon, if you want to do giveaways and stuff. And even they will take and use that as like, if somebody's given a free book per giveaway and they post a review on it later, like they'll flag that as like you're abusing your review privileges as well. So sorry.
Yeah, and to add on that cover thing, they will not accept the proof when you give it to them. I had my book delisted, despite the fact I gave them the proof. I had the stock licenses and I was the cover artist. They refused to accept it and delisted the book.
Yep.
So it's a no-win situation with Amazon. If you do get into that, and my advice is just change the cover.
Yeah.
Don't bother with the proof. Amazon won't accept it. They don't care.
And then there's also been they're shutting authors' accounts down for no reason, and they can't get in to access any of those payments, any of their books or anything. And it's just like,
they're cracking down on their problems, but they're cracking down on innocent people. So
there's
it's
a lot.
ridiculous.
So the comments, that's just inertia, which I feel too, but worth it to align values with business. They don't act in good faith with people who started out as their base of customers. Now they're a global monopoly. Also, their cloud servers are a monopoly on their own. And I do agree that reviews are a nightmare. All the issues with copyright would be okay if there was a merit for the check and of a real human who would review it, so it doesn't take weeks to resolve it ever.
Mhm.
You know, so in with this aspect that CL Cam brings up, the problem is that the real humans that they have on their payroll, they don't pay very well either. So, you know, and I would imagine that they would give them instructions on, you got to be strict on this, and this, and this too. So I'm not sure that that's the, I mean, that would be a great answer. It's always nice to get a real person on the phone or on chat or whatever, but you
Even
know,
that's hard to do.
Well-
Like it's
Yes.
like
It's
being put on a
incredibly
merry-go-round, and you just go round and round and round until you give up.
Yeah,
As
they,
So with
They-
the Kindle World program, it was a separate company under Amazon. So I had a rep I could talk to when I had my books in some Kindle Worlds, which was awesome. Different experience entirely after they shut that down. Now, no rep, no one to talk to. I know authors who, another problem we're dealing with now is that they're allowing readers to read an entire ebook and then return it. Not just one book, multiple books. They're reading the entire series and returning it. I know authors who have gone into the red, and I've even posted on my Facebook, should this happen, I will pull my books from Amazon because I will not go into the red. That's not acceptable. So if readers want us to keep having books there, they need to stop returning them like that, because not all of us are going to put up with that nonsense. So one answer to that, why are authors leaving? That's one answer to that question.
thank
Well,
you,
as
Book
a-
Talk.
Yes.
As
It's a product of Book Talk,
I
everybody.
quit using TikTok after that happened to me. So go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I was just going to say, as a fan of Amazon and somebody that is grateful that they have created so much of the indie opportunity. I mean, if Amazon hadn't done what they did, we could still be in the world of traditional publishing only. I mean, I'm very grateful. I'm happy with them. However, I think the reason the main reason there are so many problems with Amazon is that we don't matter to them. Out of their global business, the revenue from indie authors is a tiny fraction. And because it is not their mainstay, because it is not their core business is providing services to indie authors, they don't I don't know, care is probably not right, but they don't put the resources into it that they ought to, or that they could, or that somebody that their whole business is dealing with indie authors as customers does. So I think the things they're trying to do are the right things. They're just doing a shitty job of it because they have other things that are more profitable to worry about.
So Karina kind of answered this question in the chat for me, Margaret, but it is so TikTok is part of the things that TikTok is famous for or infamous for now is ways that you can get around paying for stuff and doing stuff for free, and it was a bunch of TikTokers who came up with this idea or made it public that it always existed. The policy always existed with Amazon, but this was, when people were starting to get into Book Talk and starting to get into books, and what they didn't realize is they were doing this to more traditional authors who probably don't feel it as heavily as an indie would. But then if you're doing it for one aspect of the business, you're doing it for all the aspects of the business. And then you're starting getting into indies, and they don't realize that really does affect the bottom line of indies. So a lot of, and to be completely candid and fair, Book Talk took to this like flies on a light bulb and said, "Hey, there was a big campaign out there with a lot of book talkers are saying, hey, don't do this. This sucks. This is hurting us." And there was that, but it was the creation of the mass media that put it out there. And again, it's bad on Amazon for always having this policy existing. But it stems to the really bigger problem, I think, that Amazon has. I don't have a problem with them doing the business and conducting the business that they conducted. The way they conduct, it's their business. And I agree with you, Ron. We would not be here without Amazon.
Mhm.
Amazon changed the game. But, and I also agree that, hey, look, it's their business. They can do what they want. The problem is that none of us know what they're doing and how they're doing it. They could at any time, as Karina mentions here in the chat, just kill you. They could just say, we're not publishing anything. And they could give some half-back-ass reason to why, and they won't ever back it up as to why. Their transparency is the absolute worst for any company I've ever dealt with that has customer service, and it's destroyed a lot of people's. It's soured a lot of people's opinion of them, and that's the hardest part for that aspect of it. If they just had those written somewhere where it was very visible and apparent to every single person and every scenario was covered, that would change the game for me personally. I won't speak for everybody else, but at least I know what I'm getting into,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. But the other thing that's so striking about it is they monitor everything that happens with um, your books that are digitally on Amazon. How fast are people reading it? How many days does it take them to read it? They know that they read the whole book. And they would even know
Exactly.
in Deborah's example that they read 9 books of a series and then turn around. So I mean, that would
Exactly.
be so easy to prevent. The same
Right.
way when somebody gets food at a restaurant and they eat it all and then go, boy, I didn't care for that. I'm like, well, I can see from your plate that you did. You know, uh, so I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, I'm not blind to Amazon's faults. And sometimes it's a struggle to comprehend why they don't take the easy remedial steps to resolve some of these issues.
Yeah.
But I love them anyway, and I will never
And
give up on them.
chat's going on
Yeah.
it. But the people charged with monitoring and enforcing antitrust provisions have fallen down on the job since Amazon's rise, so no longer just their business as they're ripping holes in the economy. AL Mango, despite frustrations, I've always felt that Amazon has been a necessary monster for product distribution. This is something I'm going to talk about here in a second, because this is changing really fast, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, an agreement.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Is that yes, Amazon is a good product distribution, but you don't have to go through KDP to get to Amazon. Places like Drafted Digital, you can add Amazon to their distribution and go through them. You get a slightly lower royalty, but you don't get the hassles of KDP. So you
There you
have to
go.
balance it out which one you want.
I just finished the tolls on is the Thunderhead without the conscience. Uh, anymore, and then a printer publisher, but which are tops in terms of distribution. Uh, you know, so yes, bingo. Whatever. So to go back to this point here, this is the biggest thing that I think is going to change in the landscape of publishing. It is my personal prediction for the next 5 years, and that is that we are all going to be direct sellers at some point, because corporations take their piece of the pie. They do their own rules. They have their own things, and people are starting to figure out how to direct market themselves, and they're doing it, as Deborah can probably attest, as Ron and Madeline and Anita don't do this as much. And for Anita, it's mostly because of where she is.
Well, I have gotten into direct sales. When they delisted that book, I put it over on Ko-fi as a direct sale. So
nice. I was going to mention the fact that you can go out and in public and sell your books direct too, and that's and a lot of people have gone that route, and I know personally I make more money doing it that way than any other way to do it. And so it's kind of the spearhead and the catalyst for what is to come. And people just hadn't bridged the gap between that and online sales yet. Right. So that is what is happening. So I think we're all headed toward direct sales in that respect. Does that mean we should all form thematic associations, beneficial cartels? Sure, why not? Go for it. But yeah, I think direct web sales, because we're tired of getting squeezed. We're tired of for you, Anita, like you've worked so hard on that cover, and like for them not to accept it, I mean, you almost want people to see it now, right? I mean, because you put it out there, and yep, why the F not?
I don't get what they never told me why. That's
Yep.
what really annoyed me. It's like, we have reason to believe you do not have the rights to these images, one or more of these images. That's all they ever said. I used 3 stock images to make that cover.
Mm.
Which freaking one has the problem, Amazon? Which freaking one?
Real.
Yeah, I mean,
and they gave me 5 days to fix the cover or prove it.
Probably took them that long.
How do you replace a cover in 5 days, Amazon? How?
It probably took them that long to get back to you when you first initially reached out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the middle of trying to get them the proof, and they delisted it too, which is ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing was like a big old farce. It was just.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still mad.
Yeah. I'm curious your thoughts on that idea, the direct sales aspect. As somebody who is in a genre that has a built-in audience, do you think that if romance was to embrace that, do you think it would all fall like dominoes at that point, that everybody would have to do it?
I think more and more of us are. I have
Yeah.
my web designer. I have hired a web designer recently, and we are going to put a store on my website. But I'm not just going to sell books. I'm going to sell coffee mugs and all this other stuff too, because why not? I have the rights to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have audio books out. I can do anything I want with my books as long as I retain rights to them. So why not? There's nothing to be lost from it. But even with that, who's producing your product and who's distributing, who's doing the sending and the mailing, and we're dealing with the tax structure. You have to be really careful about that, which is why I'm so slow with it, because I don't want to have to redo it. I want to do it once and have it out there. But more and more of us are not just talking about it, but we're starting to do it. I think by the end of next year, we're going to see a whole lot more romance authors selling directly from their website.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Look, I will die on this hill. I realize I will. I understand it, and anybody who's watched these shows and knows me knows that this is my rant, and this is the rant. Mark Coker missed a golden opportunity here. I mean, Smashwords could have done this and helped the indie author out. But hey, look, they have different agendas. They have a different business model. They have a different idea, and they're doing what they need to do for them. But it's just like, man, the door is now going to shut on all of these commerce sites, because we're going to take it over on our own. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be successful. People are already having massive success with this.
Yeah.
And I think us being our own cartels, as Margaret put it, and being our own mafia, yes, kiss my ring.
Yeah. You add Kickstarter into the mix, and it's going to become more and more indies are doing their own direct sales.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody looks at Brandon Sanderson and goes, let me walk that path and see if I can do it just as good as he did, because we don't have fear. What's the worst that's going to happen to us? We got to put them back on Amazon and just deal with it. Okay. All right.
And
we
we
put
have
it
a
out there
skill
already.
that we developed. The skill that we've developed of being able to adapt and adjust is the greatest skill you can have in any situation, because it allows you to survive. That's the thing that we have that gives us our strength. And the more of us that do that and have that, the stronger we all are, either individually or collectively.
Yeah, thank you for your great questions, Andy. That was really awesome. Just hop over to Nia Shop and Kofi. So many cool 99 cents. There you go. Everybody go to Nia's shop and check it out. But yeah, it's coming, and it's the next thing. I really believe that, because why give anybody my $3.75 when I can keep it all for myself? Of course, then of course the government's going to take $6 of that, but that's all right. That's the way it works. That's how it is. Or you can not do taxes. I don't highly recommend it. I'm not advocating that right here on the show. Right? Please do not. Please pay your taxes. Please do your due diligence. All right.
Just remember to use all your indie writer stuff as business expenses.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So this was as I'll echo what Andy said, this was a really great, insightful conversation. You guys were awesome. It's a great way to start our season. We've got much more going on, and so much more coming up. And a lot of these folks that are here right now are going to be involved in all of that, including right before everybody decides to give their stuff, and then we give the last 5 minutes to Madeline. I wanted to do this real quick and tell everybody what's happening tomorrow night. Everybody should go check out In Progress, and here's why.
Hi, I'm Julia Allen, and I'm here to invite you to watch our show In Progress on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're coming back for Season 3, Episode 6, where we'll be inviting on our guest, Hal Arnold, to talk about different writing processes. So excited, and I hope to see you there.
So for more insightful conversation, definitely check out In Progress. It'll be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, and then all the other. I'm not even going to go into all these, but you figure it out. I'm tired of figuring it out for you, because every time I do the GMT thing, I get yelled at. That's not my GMT. All right, well, figure out your own GMT, for God's sakes. I'm sorry. I can't help that the British Isles has broken it down into 45 different time zones. I don't know what to tell you. You just got to figure it out. All right, so I gave you the foundation. Eastern time should be your foundation. Work backwards or forwards from there. I do appreciate you doing that, though, and being there. It does matter, and I really do appreciate that. But it's whatever.
It feels like that is your new rant.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll die on that hill as well. All right, I'm dying on a lot of hills tonight. But
A lot of dying.
Yeah, a lot of dying. Yeah. That being said, I'm dying to hear where we can find everybody else. So, Deborah, tell everybody where they can find you.
Okay, you can find me at deborahparmley.com, and I also have a travel blog, which is Beautiful Day Traveler, and I'm all over social media. No writer events until next year, just online, probably with more GoIndieNow.
Nice, awesome. We look forward to it. I've always loved having you. Thank you for being here. It really matters. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, Anita, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at afstewart.ca, and I've got all my links there, my Ko-fi shop, my Redbubble store, all my books, my social media, everything's there, one-stop shopping for you. You can find my podcast over on my YouTube store, and next month you can look forward to the October Frights blog hop.
And from this point forward, every Saturday, Anita takes over GoIndieNow with Words That Kill. We're finishing the first season and then jumping right into the second season. So for this fall season, Saturdays belong to death and killing.
And I gotta shoot you the recorded episodes
Yes,
tomorrow. So you're gonna get a few tomorrow. Just saying.
Awesome. I look forward to it, and it's going to be a great season. And it's more fantasy based for the second season, right?
Yeah, I posted over in a fantasy group, and they descended on me like rabid wolves. So
nice.
I took advantage of it.
Awesome. Cool. We look forward to that. This is a great show. Everybody check it out if you haven't already. It's awesome. Anita does a great job, and it's I love it. I love it. So I'm really happy. Thank you for doing that and being a part of that. And yes, entirely until the end of December, Saturdays belong to AF Stewart and Words That Kill. So everybody check that out. And then Tuesday nights, Mr. Ron Lahr's back with us, but to tell everybody where they can find you first, Mr. Lahr, tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, go to my website, Cataldi.com. That's for my. I mean, it talks about all my books, but I started it first because of my fantasy series, The Chronicles of Cataldi. But I would rather. I mean, yes, please, all go buy all my books. That'd be awesome. However, I'm kind of more excited immediately about the premiere of Mean Reviews. No stars given. It's going to be funny. It's going to be. I mean, it sounds worse for the books than it is. But yeah, I mean, I guess people just have to check it out at the end of the month when it premieres. And there'll be the way it works. There'll be a couple of books or movies, and we will, well, indie books or movies, and there'll be me and a guest host for every episode, including some of the people on this panel will be guest hosts, and we will talk about those works in a way that hopefully will make you laugh.
Awesome. Hopefully it will make us laugh. Otherwise, I'm canceling the show.
That would be very fair.
But anyway, no, it's great. It's a great concept. It's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. By the way, I'm Joe Compton. I'm told often that I don't talk enough about me. So here's me. Oh, look, there's a prop for you. There's my book that's out right now that you can get on Kindle and paperback, We the Moral Majority. It's the second book in the Duality of Truth series. We're reworking the first book, so that's why you can't find the first book, although you can still get it on audiobook if you wanted to do that, which would really help out my audio narrator who gives me crap about me not pimping that as often as I should too. So yeah, it's on audiobook right now, so if you wanted to check out Amongst the Killing is the name of my first book, and yeah, just get prepared because we're going to be putting out the first book. We'll be reissuing the first book. I'm not going to go into why. There's a bunch of reasons why that we're reissuing it, and it has nothing to do with how badly it was the first time around. It just has to do with setting up the other two books that are coming. I am working on fantasy series as well, and I am doing many, many more things. Hey, if you want to learn screenwriting too, I posted a class on Screenwriting 101 over at the Speculative Fiction Academy. I know they're not a sponsor, but you can go check out my class, Screenwriting 101. So if you have ever wanted to turn your book into a screenplay, this will give you the foundations to do so. And I will also be publishing right before Multiverse. My next class will come out, which is turning the novel into a screenplay. So if you want to check all that out, you can do so. Yeah, check us all out. GoIndieNow, you know where to find us. You're here. So smash that like button, like, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do. And that's it for me. I think I've talked enough about myself today. So let's just jump right in and give the last 5 minutes to our friend, the one and only Miss Madeline Dale. Take it away. It's all yours.
Right. So, guys, this story for the anthology, there's not a pre-order yet, but it's coming soon. I kind of got permission to talk about it a little bit earlier than what we're going to start marketing it as. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the show I get to host this fall called Character Driven. I've got some fantastic authors on there that I've already chatted with about either main characters or different characters in their story, and it's going to be a blast. It's going to be on Tuesdays. Yeah. But so this anthology that I get to be a part of, it's kind of got some steamy stories in it. They're more along just like paranormal, urban fantasy, like just fantasy stuff in it. And I am really excited that I got to have a story in it. So here's the start of it. I'm only going to read a little bit, but you guys can definitely snag this with that anthology. The pre-order link will be up on my website, thechaptergoddess.com, as soon as it's available, and I'll be sharing it on my social media as well. So, my story is called Love's Escape, and here's the first chapter. Glancing around, I rushed toward the open window. I felt as light as a feather on my paws, and I knew any second now Melissa would realize her mistake. Adrenaline caused my heart rate to increase, and nausea burned in my throat. I could taste freedom on the breeze coming toward me as the sweet smell of tree sap greeted me from the forest I knew was waiting for me on the other side. My fur bristles as I squeeze through and fall, landing on my feet. I don't miss the tickling of the green grass against my paws before taking off at a sprint. I briefly notice the trees moving around me as the wind tussles their leaves. A storm is moving in, and the air smells of rain. I huff in short bursts as spots fill my vision. My legs are shaky, requiring more effort to move, and my stomach feels like a rock. My heart rate increases and seems to stutter as I scream fills the air behind me. My legs buckle briefly, causing me to skid across the grass, but I shove my fear aside and spring back up. She will no longer use my energy to fuel her magical spells. The forest ahead of me is dark, but I know I can hide in it. There are plenty of places a feline such as myself can squeeze in. I just need to find the right spot to catch my breath. Just a few moments to let myself adjust, and calm is all I need before moving on. Being free of that small cabin is exhilarating but terrifying. What does the world hold for me? Suddenly, a loud howl fills the air. It sounds as if it were full of pain and suffering, which can't be real. It causes fear to course through my being at a new pace, and I question if anywhere will be safe. Melissa summoned a shadow hound to track me down. I am so screwed. My ears prick as the sound of a car in the distance catches my attention. I can hear the tires moving on asphalt, and I know someone is driving in this neck of the woods. This area was supposed to be deserted, according to Melissa's musings, but thankfully not. Would the person driving take pity on me and pick me up? It's not often you find a cat wandering in the middle of the woods. I continue running as fast as my little paws will take me and ignore my surroundings, even though the wind continues to pick up around me and rain, lightning, and thunder fill the air. My heart beats at a steady staccato, and soon the dirt beneath my feet changes from grass to pavement. The black asphalt is hot. My mind goes blank as I realize that I have not only found the road, but that I'm in the middle of it. Tires squeal and I blink, trying to pull myself out of a brain fog. Turning my head, I'm blinded by the headlights of a vehicle coming toward me. It's an unforgettable sight that causes me to freeze, and I can faintly see the silver grille. This must be my time. I close my eyes, preparing for the death blow, the pain that will come, but nothing happens. My body shakes as I stand, waiting. I finally open my eyes when I hear a door open and slam closed. A deep voice swears loudly, and I hear the rustle of jeans. I'm alive. What the hell are you doing in the road? I could have hit you. An average-built man comes around the front of the vehicle, his eyes directly on me. He's a bit thick and graying, but attractive. I stare at him, unable to move. Don't worry, little kitty. I know I smell like a dog, but I won't hurt you. That's just my inner wolf. You'll be okay. I'll get you to safety. I can't believe you're out here in the middle of the woods, especially with this storm moving in. I blink at him and his scent registers. It's wild and reminds me of the forest behind me. What was it he said he was? Oh yeah, he said he was a wolf. There is something about him, though. He feels safe and sounds safe, but at the same time, he isn't wrong. Cats don't get along with any type of dog, so why am I not bothered by him? That's it, little one. Let me get you. I'll find out where you belong. You've got to be someone's pet. Let's get you something to eat and out of this bad weather first. Then we can make a game plan. I meow at him, shaking myself out of my frozen fear, and he picks me up, cradling me close to his chest. I begin to purr as he carries me around to the door of what I realize is a pickup truck, but I question myself. Why am I purring? This guy's a wolf. I shouldn't be so calm. He climbs into the truck, setting me over in the passenger seat before turning back to face the road. He seems to contemplate something and is silent a few minutes before putting the vehicle into drive. I think I have tuna at home. We'll find out. If not, you can at least have some milk. I know I've got that and some ham. It's better than nothing. I crawl across the seat to rub up against him. I'm thankful that he's considering my well-being. Once satisfied that my message is understood, I walk back to the passenger seat and curl into a ball. I feel safe despite his animal, and my adrenaline is spiraling down. Fatigue weighs heavy on me, and my heart slows. I had hope for the first time in a long time, but what was next for me? So that's the first part of my story. I don't know if you could put together that as a cat shifter and a wolf shifter, and it's paranormal romance. So, and things get steamy later on in the story. And like I said, once the pre-order link is up, I will be sharing it on my website and media. So remember, guys, it's always time to go indie now.